What's good, everybody? It's your girl, Miss Giselle, and this is the Black Table Conversations with Miss Giselle. And today we have none other than the victorious, the fight the power, power to the people, sister, Miss Tamara Shealey in the building. Say hey, everybody.
Hey everybody, I want to thank you for inviting me and hosting today. This is quite exciting.
Hey, I'm glad that you came. I know you have such a busy schedule. You got so much going on, and I'm so excited with the things that you're doing in the community. So I definitely am so glad that you stopped past the Black Table because this is about us building up our communities again and us just living and reversing so many negative things that has ever happened to us. So it's going to take a lot of us to put things in place.
Oh gosh, yeah, this work is tremendous, and I want to applaud you for doing your part. You know, there's a part to play for all of us, so I applaud you for all that you're doing.
Right. I applaud you for being fearless. I was like, I don't care. This sister is going into places that no one else is going to right now, just to make sure that the conversation of reparations is on the table and just the benefits for our people are on the table because we get left out of so many things.
Mhm.
So I want to dive right in with like just your background. Tell us like, how you got started.
Oh, I didn't choose this, sis. I did not choose this. This actually chose me. I come from the beauty and barber industry where, my job was to make people feel good, look good, and feel good. And politics was not on my radar. I didn't halfway vote. I stayed away from it. It wasn't something that I grew up in. I never had an interest in politics. I started watching my industry. I love what I did. I was actually a nail technician. I owned my own salon for 10 years. I
Oh,
did services for 18 years. I loved my job. I loved my clients. I loved providing services. But I started watching an industry that I love start to take a demise. When I came into the industry, I worked in some of the baddest salons. I'm here in the Atlanta area, so you know how certain cities like Detroit, Atlanta, like hair and nail, they beauty capitals of the world. So here in Atlanta, I worked in some really great salons, but I started to watch the industry kind of go backwards. And I didn't understand like why stylists that was making six figures now getting second jobs. Like, what's going on with my industry? And I started going to the state boards, and I just started watching my industry from a different perspective. And that's when I realized that it was the problems that plagued my industry were political. And then as I started watching my industry take this demise, I started watching politics around me in the state of Georgia. I started watching what was happening in my community, and it like drew me in. Like one problem that I saw, then I saw the multitude of problems on the other side of it, and I'm like,
right.
so is everything political? Is the air we breathe, the water we drink, the hair on our heads, is everything political? And it is.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. We learned that in Flint. Political.
Yes.
Political. Now, like, and that I can see how that can definitely push you to where you are today. Now, I know you're a family woman too. You also like you so many things. Like I saw you have
I didn't choose it though. I didn't choose any of
you just
this.
kind of walking on destiny, and that's like something that I push in this on my platform. I'm like, people, we have to walk on destiny. Sometimes you just got to step out on faith. I didn't even want to start this podcast because I didn't have a backdrop. I didn't have this and those props. Then I realized, you know what? Let me just jump in. Something said do it now. Then I started getting an overwhelming amount of people just like, hey, can I come and market my business on your podcast? And I was like, after the catastrophe that Black businesses had last year, let's reverse that. Let's start redirecting the businesses. Let's start redirecting people to those businesses. So I'm like, I'm not only, going to market people. I like buying a product, trying it out, talking to people about it. This woman named Jade, she has like some beautiful smelling stuff. Some of the local young artists, our youth are changing the game in the music industry. You would think that it's only sex talk on the radio. That's all you really hear most of the time. But when you listen to like the stuff that our youth are doing that's underground, it's amazing. So God kept like pouring people from great places into my lap here. But I noticed, like, even with your movement, with your campaign, how did you get to that point? Like, you saw little things.
Yeah,
Like,
so I saw the issues from, like I say, from my community. I saw, like I said, I saw it in my industry first because that was where I was working, and I saw it in my industry, and then I saw it in my community. Then I saw politics in my state, and then God called me to run. You know, it was literally God had to speak it into my spirit, and I'm very spiritual, so I've learned, you know, through, you know, God will teach you through trial and error, and
right,
you gonna learn to hear His voice, and I have learned to be obedient when I hear His voice, and He whispered in my ear. And I write about this in my first book, Faith, Purpose, and Politics, Running the Race of My Life.
right. I can't wait to run this weekend.
I
Like,
write
what?
about that because I heard God hear it. I heard God say it in my spirit, sis. And I'm like, you want me to quit and follow you? And from 2013, that was where I got the calling on my life. And 2014 is when God told me to run. You know, He put it in my spirit to run for office, and I ran for the first time in 2014 in the Georgia State Senate. You know, I'd never run for office before, a no-name candidate, no money. Came out of the gate and got 37% against a staunch Republican who had owned the district, where Republicans in this district couldn't get more than 20 some odd percent. So for me to be a first-time candidate, I got 37% against this staunch Republican in my first campaign. I
Right,
knew I had to run again. So 2016 rolls around. I run one more time. God said, keep running. I run again. I get 43.8%. You know,
wow,
I'm like, okay, God. He said, run again. 2018, I ran for that same seat against this same man, but this time I get primaried. And this time when I got primaried by a white woman, and Democratic operatives had put her in the race against me. Now, mind you, I run as a Democrat,
right,
and you know, but this is where I saw race come into my race. So my
wow,
race was not just a race and run for office, but it became very racial, and heartbreaking experience because she won. She beat me because she was white, and I had a lot of white constituents in my district to tell me that the buzz was they weren't going to vote for a black woman over a white woman. After I
right.
had nurtured that district for 2 election cycles prior, the color of my skin determined whether or not I was electable. And that was heartbreaking because I knew I was a good candidate, but I saw racism in a way that I had never experienced it before. And that was 2018.
Wow. And just to endure that, I couldn't imagine. Like, I couldn't imagine. Like, I see what happens when people just kneel. You know what I mean? But someone
Mhm.
to make political change by not just kneeling, but putting that kneel into law, because that's the position you're going into. Like,
Mhm.
that you're going to be able to help sway laws and get certain things in place. You know, you'll fight for things, laws to get in place for us. And that, I can only imagine the type of stuff that come with that.
Yeah, it's a lot of backlash, and I experienced it firsthand. And you know, to experience it because I'm black, you know, like I said, not that I wasn't a good candidate, because obviously I was. They had voted for me 2 election cycles prior, but
Right,
they saw that this was a very winnable race, and they saw it as an opportunity. So it would, you know, it's like this white woman felt like it was hers, and no matter if I had done the work to win this race, she felt like it was hers. So she came in, ran against me, and actually won and beat me in the primary, but then went on to hold on to Stacey Abrams' coattail, because Stacey Abrams ran for the governor here in the great state of Georgia in 2018. So she didn't have to show up, this white woman that ran against me. She just had to have a D behind her name, because as you know, black people, we go to the polls and we
right,
vote for Democrats. So she was able to clinch a victory,
right.
and in a race that she didn't have to have an agenda for black people or brown people. She just had to show up and be, you know, have a D behind her name, and her whiteness won in the primary. So nevertheless, it was heartbreaking, but I needed to go through that politically. I believe it made me stronger. In 2018, God said, put it in my spirit to go back to school. So I went and I was accepted into law school. I now have a Juris Master's degree in law.
Oh, amazing.
And so that was my 2018, 2019, and 2020. God put it back in my spirit to run again. So I ran for the United States Senate right here in Georgia. in the special election to replace Kelly Loeffler. And Kelly Loeffler was appointed, for those that don't know the Georgia story, about how Raphael Warnock got into the position that he's in, and how the national spotlight was on those two senatorial races here in Georgia. But that was a special election where Kelly Loeffler was appointed because our sitting U.S. Senator, Johnny Isakson, was ill. So the governor appointed Kelly Loeffler. Kelly Loeffler was only appointed until there was an election. That special election was this past November 2020. In special elections in Georgia, there's no Democratic or Republican primaries. It's a jungle primary where it's a free for all. So it was 21 candidates in this race. I was one of 21. And I came in 6th place. Of course, Raphael Warnock and Kelly Loeffler and Doug Collins came in 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. 4th place was Deborah Jackson, who was a mayor previously. 5th place was Matt Lieberman, which was Joe Lieberman's son. He was a senator out of Connecticut. So the 5 candidates ahead of me, and I came in 6th place out of 21. The 5 candidates ahead of me had millions and or a significant amount of influence. So it wasn't that I wasn't a good candidate in this particular race. Money and influence won out. And that's what it takes in these political streets, y'all. For us to win races, we have to be able to compete, and being able to buy media and have mailers. It is a costly endeavor.
Right.
So it takes a lot to run, but I feel very accomplished. Right now I'm working on a project, HB 541. Georgia has there's a legislator here in Georgia, Representative Roger Bruce, who has introduced a bill, HB 541, that addresses policy remedies for descendants of slavery. When I ran for the U.S. Senate, I focused my campaign on reparations. I speak very boldly about Black issues. I don't shy away from us. I don't shy away from our needs.
Right.
So in my race to the U.S. Senate, I ran with reparations. So now that I'm not a candidate and have an opportunity to lead the advocacy efforts for HB 541, which is a quote unquote reparations, sort of, because it doesn't necessarily say specifically policy remedies, but it creates a commission that will be able to figure out what kind of policy initiatives could come out of it. So Georgia now has a bill specific to reparations. So that's where my heart is. My heart is fighting for the least of us. And right now, Black people, the data says that 2053, we will have zero net wealth. We will be a wealthless people. We're about 13% of the population, but we're 2.6% of this nation's wealth. And if we subtract our athletes and entertainers from that number, the rest of us are broke.
Right. And they're the ones that's pretty much carrying the weight of the financial platform. And people say, how are you going to exclude people like your brothers and sisters across the diaspora? We're not excluding anybody. But for this particular fight, it's a debt that's due. Like, I don't understand why it's so hard for people to get that part. Don't exclude anybody. We still fight for you guys like we always have. But when it comes to this is an unsettled debt. And I'm so glad that you are committed to that. And I want to I can see it like spreading across all of these states. I know, I think Jersey has something, or Connecticut has something, Chicago has something in place. But I know it's a lot of politics, like you said, behind so many of these things. We have to know when we're getting duped. But I think it takes us to be in those spaces. We have to be in those spaces, making sure this stuff goes right, the right way. You mentioned something when I heard you speaking in one of your lectures a little while ago. You said we need more people to run. So dive into that a little bit, because this is going to set the tone for 2022?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we absolutely need more people. Not just anybody, people that have a heart for, like I say, the least of us. Black America right now needs a significant. We need our reparations. Like I said, we have to have people across this country fighting in every state. So we definitely need more people to just run for office, run for mayor, run for city council. You don't have to go as far as the state Senate or U.S. Senate. You don't have to run for higher offices, but sheriff, take over some of your local municipalities. Be intentional about being inside of these power structures. So when these dollars, these federal monies and these tax dollars are coming down, that we're able to make sure that they're actually reaching the people that need it the most.
Right. I agree. And we said 2053, but if we really look at that, that was a survey done in 2017.
Yes.
So it was surveys that was done for like a year or so, and then the data came out in 2017. They released the data to the population, and this is our time to prepare. Then COVID hits. Businesses drop, split in half, even probably a little over half. Our company, they took the hardest hit. Our household incomes took the hardest hit because a lot of those jobs people lost. We're not talking about the loss of those jobs, people who, like, thank goodness for the communities who was pouring food into the communities and certain government assistance programs that was set up where people could just sign up and just get food, because we would have a lot of starving people out here. But going back to 2053, that date is literally almost cut in half, if not more. So you can't start tomorrow. We should have started yesterday. That's where I'm headed. So my biggest thing is, and like, everybody's looking for all of these things or thinking in the future. You can't think in the future, because zero wealth means you'll be working to survive. You'll be working for food and shelter because you can't financially do anything. There's no minimum wage. It's no minimum anything. You're not anything anymore but a slave. That puts you back into a slave position. Dr. Boyce Watkins, I think I had listened to a lecture with him when this story came out, the data came out, and he actually said he was looking at the numbers. He was like, it'll take about 256 years or so or more just to get out of a zero wealth position. So again, what you're doing, we need to get behind you. I'm going to put your Cash App in the bio. I don't care how many people hit it. I'm hitting you every week. I'm putting myself on the bill, like, so I got 3 hungry kids. I already told you about that. But I'm going to slide you something every week, because we have to be committed. You can't do anything without money. We all have to make a sacrifice. You make a sacrifice when you go to McDonald's. Send over $10. 10 people send $10. That's $100. So I want people to support you. So when you start doing your campaigns and stuff, I really want to know, so that we can really work as a voting block. We'll literally be working as a block, a group. That's how we play group economics. We're going to put the money behind our candidates. So people ask for you to come out. People ask, we need people to represent us. You're here to represent us. So you need to be financially supported. Also, because our children's lives are what happened to our elders during COVID. Look at how many elders were lost. How many of these nursing homes, how our elders are already getting left there alone, but so many died alone with COVID. I'm like, we have no time to play around anymore. But I love all of that. And I love what you did with Withhold the Vote. I'm going to let you, I know you got other things to get to today, but I do want you to tap into the Withhold the Vote, because I campaigned that all last year. People was knocking me down like, oh my goodness.
Ooh, you pissed folks off talking like that, girl.
The conversations, then it was like, not withhold. You have to put some value behind something. You're not gonna. You get mad when you go to the supermarket and buy milk for $5. So why is it that you give your vote for free, which defines the laws in the communities in which you live, in this country in which you live, and you don't expect nothing from it? That blows my mind that we have that mentality. So I'm like, I'm really not a candidate for, I don't like Biden like that. Kamala locked up 50 million women. All you saw walking out in handcuffs was Black women. Okay, she said nobody went to complete jail or whatever, right? She said nobody did this or they went through court. But imagine, you have a job. You're going to lose your job. You don't show up to work. You're going to lose your job. We're chasing down children already. You out picking yourself up by the bootstraps. If you work at 2 jobs, the children running amok. Like, how can you balance that out? You really can't. Like, people got to understand what this has really done to our group. Like, I've seen it when I ran my little summer camp for kids. But anyway, tap into that withhold the vote.
I know that withhold the vote. I know I took heat, so I know you took heat anytime
Oh
you.
my gosh.
Ooh,
Yeah.
yeah. People, and it's such a sad space. And I think, people are so indoctrinated. They feel such an obligation because here's what they do. They try to guilt you or shame you. People bled and died for you to have the right to vote, and you not gonna vote. Try to guilt or make you feel
It's weird.
ashamed.
It's just
Yeah.
weird. Even down to the clutching the pearls, I was sitting here looking like I'm not clutching any pearls. I'm not clutching on any Converse with some glitter balls on it. I want something to make sure that my kids are not going to be at zero wealth. So when you come strong like that, look at the angry black woman, or look at, well, like, what are you mad about? What are you doing in society? No, what are you doing in society? What are you doing to set up your kids? Because I don't know. I think the illusion is real. Like people are stuck in the illusion, or they're so complacent. People become complacent in these fake ideologies. Like you're like living in an illusion. What the heck are you living in? This is not sanity. It's not sane. If you do something in repetition that doesn't work, you're still trying the same thing the same way, and it doesn't work. It's called what? Insanity. So why are we doing this? Let's try it every day.
My son said to me how one day, and I've heard the saying, but I think the fact that he got it, it made such a difference. It's amazing how you know your children are catching on to what you're teaching. It's such a good feeling. And one day he said to me, he was like, "Mom, ignorance is bliss." And going back to what you're saying about these people that are, when you try to talk to them about the strategy of withholding the vote and what that means, it's like you say, this illusion. They live in these worlds where everything is okay for them, quote unquote, or it's comfortable enough for them that they just don't want to lose the little bit they got. But what they don't understand is that this little bit, it like you just said, it's an illusion. It's not real. This wealth and income are two separate things. Just because you have an income does not mean you have wealth. Right. And it doesn't trickle over and equate to the masses of us. And if we look at the fact that white America has 10 times the wealth that we do, 10 times, 177,000 that they have and the 17,000 we have. Come on now.
Right. And it's even more than that, I think. And that's where the conversation, I don't care about having the conversations, the hard ones. I'm like, I don't even care. You don't have to like me. Just make it make sense. What did we get from the Biden victory so far? You got a whole nother community. I'm not going to name any communities, but they completely, straight off the bat, here's something for your hardship for a couple of months after you beat up on a couple of brown-looking, black-looking people in society. So let's keep that a buck. But that's some things that was happening. I'm like, here it is. We have so many beautiful talents. You see it lost in these streets. We got scientists standing on the corners. Scientists. You got people that can weigh a gram on the block. This man should be in Johns Hopkins somewhere trying to create the cure for something. But because we're displaced, we're pretty much, people just feel defeated. People go into a defeated state, or people just become complacent because you got your good old government job, or you got your good old state job, or you got your good old consistent job, and you like going on your vacations. It feels good because you're looking around and you see other people that don't look like you, and you maneuvering in their spaces. But what do you have, really? Because if you get pulled over, you're going to get the same thing the guy on the block got. What do you have when that job says, you know what? Things went down. We don't have any use for you anymore. So I'm looking forward to seeing you. 2022, you running?
I don't know. I've been trusting God. I have not, I'm praying and asking God to show me what he would have me to do. I don't move unless I'm real clear. And God has not spoke to me in those regards, but what he's given me now is an opportunity to work on this bill, HB 541, and to continue to push this message of reparations, because I think there's so much work in that space about educating our people, like you said, on how to vote strategically and what reparations is and what it can mean for us as a people, in these United States. So I'm going to commit myself to working there. And if God tells me that I'm to run again, I'll definitely let you know.
Oh, and I'm telling you, we're going to back you. And what I'm saying is, at this point, everyone should be able to say what reparations is. If you don't know, we'll give freedom from freedom to equality. Isn't it? I think that's the name of it.
From Here to Equality, Dr. Sandy Darity.
Yes. From Here to Equality, Dr. Sandry Darity. So we have to get his book. Just read it. Read it with your family. Me and my children are reading it. Get The Black Tax. That book alone, when I'm telling you, if you go even deeper into it, you're like, Dr. Sandry Darity, he hit every point, but it goes even deeper than that. The debt is so overwhelming, you'll realize that if it wasn't for our efforts or like what our ancestors sacrificed, this country wouldn't even exist. So we have to get on the bandwagon. And not only that, we're going to do this stuff together. There is no leaders. We all lead in our own way.
Amen. Say it. We are all leaders. Everybody. Just step out and do the work.
Somebody else going to say it. If you're not running, somebody else is going to run. So it's no you can't say.
And we will support them. Yes.
Support our lead. We're going to support the people that want to get into these positions. That's what we're going to do. So on that, we can close out. But I want you to say, what would you like to leave with everybody?
I just want to tell everybody just to stay in the fight. Don't go to sleep right now. I think my biggest fear is that in this Biden administration, that we're going to get rocked back to sleep. Black people tend to think once Democrats are in power, everything is going to be okay. But what we don't understand is that the Democrats being in power has not benefited us as a people. And we don't really understand that. So I'm just hopeful that we don't go back to sleep on this Biden administration. You just asked a phenomenal question. What has happened for us now that Joe Biden has been elected? They already lied about the $2,000 checks that turned into $1,400. That's the first lie. And like you say, these other communities are being supported as if Black people didn't just deliver the White House and these 2 U.S. Senate races. And so Black people delivered.
Right. And I hated what they did with Black men last year. I said, Black men voted at 80% and you're complaining. I looked at the news and that was like a punch in the face. I'm saying, so what? 20% of Black men didn't want to vote for you, and rightfully so. You locked up millions, or your laws assured them to be locked up. So the fact that 80% of men stepped out, Black men, said, you know what? Despite what you did to us, for the better good, I'm going to back you, and we get nothing behind it. That right there is enough for us to say, okay, we're good. We tried it. So now what we're going to do this next election, because we're coming strong.
And we're coming to get our checks. Say it, sis.
To get those checks all day, every day. My baby's going to have it. Your baby's going to have it. You're going to have it. I'm going to have it. Everybody's getting our money. We're coming to get our check.
Say it, sis. There it is.
With that said, thank you so much. I can't wait. We'll be talking in the future. I'll inbox you anyway.
Yes, ma'am. I look forward to it.
I want to see even what we're doing here in Maryland that's in line with what you're doing down there, because I'm diving into your bill. That I want to study more to see what we're doing up here, because this is a countrywide effort. We have people fighting on all levels. Even if you're just educating yourself to know the appropriate talking points, that we need you to do that. So
yes,
signing off.
Love you. Thank you. Love you too.
Black hair grease, all of that stuff. I'm a beauty shop kid too, so I know how that is. We love you guys. Until next time, peace.